Abuja studio with Kabir Shitu now, and I want you to quickly touch, still talking security now. The president touched on the 300 boys that were kidnapped in Kankara, and he spoke about how we have the capacity to address these issues, especially with regards to being proactive and being preemptive. And he also says they're looking into reorganizing security apparatus and operation. What do you foresee in this coming year, in this year rather?
We believe that the prompt way that the government did and on this Kankara will show that if we have that proactive measure in place, we won't get ourselves to this security system problem that we are. And then he has said he's going to look at the security apparatus. That means all what Nigerians are crying about on how to restructure the security. The president is now telling Nigerians he's ready to restructure this security apparatus in order to, from the experience that they've gained over time. So they will be able to now put us in a better, put the military or the security apparatus in good perspective. And then he's also saying that this year we know that most of the equipment that they've ordered for, they will be here by this year. And so we will have more capacity with which to fight the insurgency. And then we look at area of this kidnapping, cattle rustling, and other view. We are urging Mr. President that we have to clear this our forest. If we clear the forest, we'll be able to now bring in economic activities in those forests. With economic activities, there will be nowhere for them to hit. So, but when you left all these forests shallow, they find a place, a place for them to hide and carry out the nefarious activities. I believe Mr. President will do that. And then when you come to area of economy, which he analyzed, he's also telling us that if you look at the budget, they have made provision for manufacturing. They made a provision for manufacturing. They made provision also for processing. And they make provision for mechanization of our agricultural sector. So all these factors will also reduce the security problem in the sense that when you take people out of street and give them gainful employment opportunity, then it will reduce the strength of the criminality. Therefore, and then when you look at the area of anti-corruption, the president, if you look at these 2-3 years, they have changed pattern from just taking people, arrest them, take them to court, and then the court set them free. They've started the issue of plea bargaining, where you can even come and say, look, I have this, and I'm ready to sacrifice it for Nigerians. And the government will look at it and say, look, yes, we can now pardon you for being able to do this. Instead of wasting Nigerian resources, going to court, taking people, arresting and things. A lot of things is undergoing, and that is why he's saying we will change some of the law that guide this anti-corruption issue.
All right.
Because
I'd like to cutting now to talk about the issue of going back to the economy, where he talked about food security. The numbers with regards to food inflation towards the end of the year, so that we are recording double digits, and that is a lot of concern for a lot of persons. And he has said, the president has said that the CBN shouldn't give forex for importers to import food into the country. And that has generated a lot of concern, even though the president has said that he's going to address the issues of food inflation aggressively this year. Now, how do we go about that such that we'll get the results that we're looking at? Because food security is being threatened right now.
Yes, we must take proactive action as government. And what are those proactive action? Is for you to ban exportation and importation of those goods that we can produce in Nigeria. You are not, if you are, Argentina just announced 2 days ago to say that there will be none of their corn, that's maize, should be exported. They banned the exportation of corn from Argentina. Then what are we doing? What he's saying is that don't give our hard-earned forex to those that are going to import all this agricultural food into Nigeria. We must, as people, also be able to sacrifice. If government are taking policies that will help the citizen, citizens must also be patriotic to also believe in that policy. It's a policy that will help the country, in the sense that if you said don't give them forex to import food, then they will use the little money they have here to promote agricultural activities in the country, and that will also give employment opportunity to Nigeria. I'm even going further to say, ban the exportation of every raw material until it is processed in Nigeria here.
But do we have the capacity to do that?
Cocoa?
Do we have the capacity to do that?
We have. We have the capacity. We have the capacity. It's just that we don't have the will. If we have the will, Nigeria have the capacity to do that. We have green land everywhere. We have everything that it takes. It's just for us to believe in our country, believe in ourselves, and believe that we can make it. Those countries
that in itself enough
suffered
to help us achieve what we want to do? Because there are other low-hanging fruits, if I may use the word. Access to credits. We have insecurity. Farmers cannot go to the farms to carry out their duties. How can they do this?
You see, what brought about security problem is unemployment. If you have 60 million Nigerian youth that are unemployed, what do you expect of security? Therefore, we must find a way of giving employment opportunity to these boys. And what we are saying, let every young man go back to his local government. Let government take an action on this to say, register them. If you register them, those that are interested in agriculture, provide a land for them, clear the land, allow them, give them salary, and then make agriculture attractive to them. Those that want to work in education system, give them vocational training. We should promote vocational training so that when we started processing industries, you have workers, and you take these young men out of street, take them out of the bush, bring them out, clear the forest, and allow economic activities to take over the forest area.
Okay.
We have the will, we have the land, we have the water. If you are talking of aquatic resources, we have it in abundance. But how do we tap into these assets? Is the problem, and that is the enabling environment that Nigeria must take proactive action on. And then we also
that's
have
a fine place for you to leave it now, because we have to bring the conversation to the studio. We need to get the reaction of our guest in the studio. I'd like to begin with you, Sheson. You heard Kabir Shitu saying that we have the land. It's the will to do this, and to also have the enabling environment to get the desired results when it comes to building the economy, ensuring food security.
We've always been saying that our politicians are one of the problems that we have. I listened to Kabir Shitu, and with due respect, some of the things he has highlighted, I will not concur to it. If you're talking about processing, it's not about the land. Our power sector has failed. People don't have even the room to set up an environment where you can, some of those things to be processed required machineries, and they require power. We've worked on having even 15 hours continuously on daily basis in some area. That will encourage you. You know the number of resources we put into buying diesel or creating alternative power supply. When you have to process some of these agricultural things we're talking about, you require power. Our power sector is not there yet. People are still lamenting. You see people for days. Some, as at this morning, does not even have the light to listen to Mr. President's speech. And this, if you must take it, power plays a major role in making sure that the processing unit is right. Also, some of our politicians, we say some of these things. You heard about the First Lady in UAE to take some medical stuff. Until some of our politicians do what they always say. When you say you want to domesticate things, our health sector internally must work. You must not go out. Majority of them, we've seen instances where governors will go for the graduation ceremony of their children overseas. Because the educational system, where you are, I used to say then, if I need to put my child in a school and the proprietor of the school, your children are not there, is to tell me that you don't have confidence in what you're doing. So if some of our politicians still go out, now that they've opened the airspace, so many of them have rushed out to go and take their medical attention, leaving us, the masses, to our fate. So some of our politicians must act in line with what they say. If you must domesticate things, health system, from the president to the senators, to the House of Rep, to the governors, must have their health system carried out internally. Let us all meet at the hospital. The general hospital that I go, let it be the same one that the governor will go. You might have a VIP session there. That is what is obtainable in all the world. Politicians must not just tell us that this is what they are doing. They must do the talk. They must do it the way we want. Right. Their educational system, all their children must reside back to this country. Let us all be at home. The same way CK said in 9 months, as we are on strike, their own children are going to school every day in the overseas. Let's all be in. When we are all on strike, definitely we have a listening ear. It's not enough for politicians to say we are doing this. They must act it. Let us all stay here, do it together, and nobody goes out of the country to do anything.
All right, CKN, do you want to react to this statement?
Let me touch on food insecurity.
Yeah.
And there's a vital issue you raised, and which we didn't tackle well. Insecurity. There is no way you can have food security when there's insecurity in the land. A few days ago, over 70 farmers, rice farmers, were killed. And it has been like that on a daily basis, especially in the north. We are more like the food basket of the nation. People can go to their farms. Bandits on a daily basis in Zamfara, in other parts of the north, are kidnapping people and making it impossible for them to go to the farm. Of course, that is going to tell. At the end of it, or you see that we will not be able to deliver on most of those. So definitely, there'll be food. So we have to, that is where security is very, very key. Now, talking of employment, he was talking about, oh, let us bring the children, let us go and clear all the forests. How do you clear the forest? How many forests are you? Sambisa alone, do you know how big Sambisa is? Sambisa is almost half of the country, if you look at it, because the stretch is stretched from the north up to Kenya. How do you clear those forests? Let us come back also. Employment. But have you forgotten that for the past 3-4 months, the 774,000 jobs.
Back and forth.
That's back and forth.
Yes.
20,000 naira job per month that was supposed to be given to 774,000 Nigerians. Between the National Assembly, the Minister of State, the presidency, and whatever. That job still now, that so many people has not been delivered. So what we don't have the political will. We don't have the leadership. And we don't also have the necessary impetus to be able to deliver on some of it. And that is where I talk of leadership. Everything boils down to leadership. If you have somebody that has the mindset and knows the goals, and every organization has its vision and mission.
Absolutely.
That is it. The same thing with every leader. As you want to become a leader, if I want to become the governor of Imo State, where I come from, or the local government chairman of Obo, where I come from, I must have a vision and mission. And that is part of what I'm going to tell the people. This is my vision, this is doing my campaign. And before I even, there's something that most people have forgotten. And that is why I'll never forget somebody like Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. What he has done in Lagos. When he started, most people have forgotten what happened in 1999. When Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu was campaigning. And he was to become a governor. What he did was to look for technocrats, young men. I remember those days, a lot of people from all sectors. They were going to bring together paper, Do you understand? And brainstorm on what they think is the way forward. Made the man became the governor of Lagos State. He started working on that roadmap. And that is why Lagos State is where it is. Because that road, other governors that came after him, we are only continuing to
building on it.
Are we building on what we had right from the presidency? Every year, once we have an election, a president comes in, is jettisoning all the other work.
And government is supposed to be a continuum.
And that is the problem we are having.
Right.
And that is the issue at stake. So until we're able to look at it from the point that, irrespective of what political party, wherever the idea comes from, as far as they are Nigerians, and it makes sense, let us run with it. I'm not just being seen every aspect of people criticizing or bringing opinion as, oh, because you are in the opposition, you are this and that. And that in itself doesn't help governance.
All right, let's come to you now, Obani Akinwale, and I want you to quickly touch on the issue on corruption, which the president spoke about. He talked about the fact that in 2020, we had some successes that they would be building on for 2021. And he also talked about enhancing laws that will strengthen the fight against corruption and also review the laws that will make the fight effective.
Yeah. Quickly, let me just quickly talk on the food security you mentioned before I jump to the corruption.
All right.
You mentioned food and you put security. So what it means is that there is no food without security.
Absolutely.
And if the Kankara boys that are 158 kilometers away from Daura can be attacked, where the CEC is, that has access to the military, to the Air Force, to the Naval, to the police, it shows that there is no security for the rest of us that are more than 158 kilometers away from where the president is. And like he mentioned, like one of the guests mentioned in the studio, that if 40 kilometers away from Maiduguri, the rice farmers can be slaughtered like goats, it shows you that the level of production of food will go down. If Governor Makinde of Oyo State can come out to tell us that the banditry are already entering through Shaki, through Tere to Oyo State, and they're attacking people. If Baba Olufalaye farm can be attacked in Ondo State, it shows that something is wrong. If the rice farm can be burned down in Ilorin, it tells us that we should expect that food that will continue to increase. And why will it continue to increase? Government has doubled the tax, they have doubled the call rate, they have doubled electricity, but yet the income still remains the way it is. Let's come back to the issue of corruption. Corruption. We are tired of the same rhetoric, the same kind of word. If you recall, a few days ago, the chairman of ICPC said the lawyers have been able to bribe judges in tune of 9.4 billion naira in order to induce judgment. So if we are talking about corruption, and we already have a report that says there seems to be some level of inducement between the lawyers and judges in tune of 9.4 billion in the country, it tells us when we talk about corruption. So corruption is from high heaven and from the high places. Then again, this is the year that the president deemed fit to set up Presidential Advisory on Corruption. Obnuhola was rubbished out of office for asset recovery. President set up another committee led by His Eminence Justice Ayo Salami to look at the case of Ibrahim Magu. Up to today, we don't have any report. Magu report is kept in the Kola. The committee has the mandate. So how do you now measure the country in terms of corruption when the corruption Caesars have been interrogated and we are yet to see the result? When the people that are fighting to get people away from corruption are being, so to say, harassed. Magu case is a clear case to us that anybody that is going there to fight corruption should know either the corruption will fight back or the system will fight it back. Then you go back to the issue of NDDC. What happened to the case of Ponde? What happened to the case of Joy Nune of NDDC? Is that not a corruption case that, like Senator Seosoni will always say, that has been deodorized or that has been used with perfume? So you look at all the case of a lot of cases that has emanated between the House Committee Chairman on Labour, that's Honorable Faleke, and Mr. Dr. Chris Igege, that turned to drama, that you are a mushy boy, I am a VI boy. You ask yourself, are we serious in this country for once? Then again, he mentioned, if we are fighting corruption, corruption starts from living by our words. Mr. President promised us that his health issues will be treated here locally. But as much as Mr. President decided to go and treat his health issue or his family issue outside the country, there is absolutely no way we can hold anybody responsible for their word. So it is pretty difficult for you to say, somebody promised to ensure that the system is corrupt-free, but you can hold them accountable for their work. You know a lot of panel report that has come here and there, they never see their light. What happened in the National Assembly? Nobody knows till today. So for me, the corruption war has always been like exactly like the presidential speech. We have them in paper. We don't know how, when, where, and who will implement them. But the question now is that we hope in this year 2020, President Muhammadu Buhari, who used to be General Muhammadu Buhari, that we all know, that stand against corruption, that stand tall, will come out blazing. He has nothing to lose. He is not contesting for the third term.
And that's a fine place to leave it, Obani Akinwale. We can only hope, like you have said, that he comes out blazing in 2021. Looking at what he has said in his speech, we have to leave the conversation here now for want of time. But we must thank you, in-house analyst Obani Akinwale. We must also thank politician and public affairs analyst Kabir Shitu. And in the studio, I must thank you, Chris Kende Wadu, CEO CKN News, as well as Sheson Kwade, Chartered Accountants. Thank you so much for your contribution on the program this morning.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, gentlemen. Happy New Year. And keep staying hopeful.
We will.